Hello students, in the previous lecture we learnt about furosemide, which is a very strong diuretic and which is a potassium wasting diuretic. Now we are going to learn about diuretics which can work on distal convoluted tubule, and these are, in contradiction to the previous class, are calcium sparing diuretics. So how do they work? We are going to learn that. So 5 to 8% of sodium is reabsorbed from distal convoluted tubule, and as we have been discussing, we will go with the same flow, that which are the transporters present at distal convoluted tubule. So the transporters are sodium potassium ATPase, which is always present at the basolateral membrane, sodium chloride cotransporter, which is present at the lateral membrane or luminal membrane. This is lumen here, renal lumen, and this is a cell. So this is a basolateral portion and this is a luminal portion. So here you have sodium and chloride moving in the same direction present at the luminal membrane. Okay. So from where the sodium and chloride is coming? This is coming from lumen into the cell. So this is reabsorption of sodium and chloride at the same time. Then we have sodium calcium Na plus Ca2 plus antiporter, which is present at the basolateral membrane. So this is sodium and calcium antiporter because it is taking sodium from outside into the cell and calcium is going from cell to the outside. So here exactly what is happening is calcium reabsorption. So whatever calcium is coming from here, from lumen, it will go in the cell and via this channel it will leave the cell. What is the peculiarity of this? It is under the influence of PTH receptor. So do you remember there is thyroid gland and there is a parathyroid gland? Parathyroid gland is involved in calcium hemostasis. Yes, calcium homeostasis, sorry. So when we are talking about that, this is a PTH receptor, parathyroid receptor, which is present at the basolateral membrane of the luminal cell, and once parathyroid hormone binds to it, it increases calcium reabsorption. Okay, so things to remember, we have sodium chloride symporter, which helps in sodium and chloride reabsorption. We have sodium calcium antiporter, which helps in calcium reabsorption, but in turn it needs potassium to come inside the cell. Okay, so you are able to gauge now that sodium to come. Sodium is coming from lumen into the cell. Sodium is coming from outside into the cell. So there is lot of sodium which is getting concentrated here. So we need a mechanism which is provided by sodium potassium ATPase, which expels the sodium out. The very first transporter which we discussed, which is present everywhere. Now you know it. And then we have some channels. So at the luminal membrane, we have calcium ion channel, and at the basolateral side we have chloride ion channel. So whichever chloride ions are coming, they are expelled out with the chloride ion channels, and whichever calcium has to come here, that is coming from the luminal side. So parathyroid hormone helps in calcium reabsorption. So there are 5 things: sodium potassium ATPase, sodium chloride cotransporter, sodium calcium antiporter, calcium ion channels, and chloride ion channels. Okay, a lot to remember, I know, but with the explanation and with revision it will be very easy. So now, which is a drug which acts on this particular site? So this is the same slide, this is picture from the previous slide. So you have everything handy this side, and we are discussing drug this side. So when you talk about drug is thiazide. Now what exactly it does? It inhibits sodium chloride cotransporter. Now see here, sodium chloride cotransporter. Here it is present. Now what do you expect to happen? Directly, what is going to happen? Less sodium will be entering the cell, less chloride will be entering the cell. So very direct correlation would be Sodium and chloride are entrapped in the lumen. They go ahead and do not get reabsorbed to an extent to which they should get reabsorbed and excreted out. But you need to remember only 5 to 8% sodium reabsorption is occurring here. So you are only able to inhibit that 5 to 8% to some extent, not completely again. So this is again a mild diuretic. So thiazides are also mild diuretics. Okay. So now look at the flowchart. Thiazide inhibits sodium chloride cotransporter, which inhibits sodium entry inside the cell. There are two consequences. One consequence, which was direct, which we just discussed, increased sodium and increased chloride excretion, but sodium is exchanged with potassium at the principal cells. Just remember this sign. We are going to discuss this in detail, why this happens. And in turn, it will increase potassium excretion. So this is again a potassium wasting diuretic. Again, I repeat, increased sodium and chloride excretion. It goes ahead in the lumen. There are principal cells which are lining the collecting tubule, and because of that, what happens? The principal cell sense that okay, there is a lot of sodium which is extra, which is coming in my contact in the lumen. So what it does, it takes that sodium in and gives potassium back in the lumen, and whatever goes in the lumen is excreted out. You need to remember. Okay. Second consequence, this. So as we were speaking, this cell is getting sodium from where? From the lumen and from outside. So from lumen and from outside in exchange of calcium. Now what has happened? You are limiting one source of sodium for the cell. So cell is starving of sodium now. Cell requires sodium. So how that cell will get sodium? What the cell does is, it gets more, it tries to get more and more sodium from this particular source. How will it get it? So what happens? There are calcium ion channels. So it increases the expression of calcium ion channels. Lot many calcium is coming in. It tries to expel out that calcium. What will happen then? More sodium will come in. So in this process, to get more sodium, the cell expels calcium by virtue of sodium calcium antiporter in a nutshell. So there is increase in the calcium reabsorption from the lumen, and that is how thiazide is a calcium sparing or calcium retaining diuretic. Exactly opposite to what furosemide does. Thiazide, what it is doing, it is inhibiting sodium chloride cotransporter. Cell tries to get more sodium. In turn, it expels out calcium. So less calcium in the cell. So more calcium from lumen will enter the cell. It again gets reabsorbed and your body retains calcium in this process. And that is how these are calcium sparing or calcium retaining diuretics. What are the uses? You can surely guess. In case the patient is suffering from hypercalciuria, meaning there is some genetic defect, okay, in the maybe parathyroid hormone defect. So patient is excreting more and more calcium. You need to limit that calcium excretion. You will go for thiazide diuretics. Another condition, kidney stone, wherein there is calcium accumulation. Here, this is hypercalciuria. This is for calcium oxalate stone. So wherever kidney stone or calcium oxalate stone tendency is there, to that patient you will give this thiazide diuretic. So what will happen? It will not allow calcium to accumulate in the lumen of kidneys, of nephron, and that is how the tendency to form stone will decrease. Another use can be osteoporosis. Do you agree? Osteoporosis, what happens? There is less calcium in the body, less calcium is absorbed in the bones. So here, you are not allowing that calcium to go out, get excreted. You are reabsorbing it, and that is how you are helping the patient with elevated calcium levels in the blood, which in turn will get absorbed in bone. So this is summary of thiazide diuretics. Thank you.